Most people have probably heard about emissions trading, but at the same time, most people probably don't really understand how it works. And what I'm going to do is use a few coffee cups to show you not just how it works, but more importantly, why it doesn't work when it comes to tackling climate change. The first thing you need to do when you invent emissions trading is to decide how many permits you want to produce, and that will in turn determine how much pollution you're going to have. Unfortunately, in Australia, we've talked about a 5% emission reduction, which is pretty pathetic, but whether the target's 5% or 50%, emissions trading works the same way. Here's how it works. The government, in my little hypothetical coffee economy, has said they're going to cap pollution at 5 tonnes of CO2, and each coffee cup is the equivalent of a permit for 1 tonne of pollution. So 5 tonne cap, 5 permits, 1 tonne each. Now, let's assume that 3 tonnes of carbon dioxide are used by the polluters and 2 tonnes of carbon dioxide are used by households. Arbitrary distinction, but not too far off the mark. Now, once emissions trading comes in, remember we've capped the level of pollution at 5 tonnes and we've issued 5 permits. So once emissions trading comes in, you might be disappointed. You might think, gee, I wish they had have done more. So I'm going to do more in my home life. I'm going to not use the air conditioner. I'm going to insulate the roof. I'm going to ride my bike instead of drive my car. I'm going to do all the things that we all know are sensible ways of reducing energy use and reducing Australia's emissions. But watch carefully what happens under an emissions trading scheme. When a household and when more than one household get together and say, let's put a solar hot water system on our roof. We don't need as many permits anymore because we're not polluting. Well, what no one has ever told you about the Australian government's CPRS, its Carbon Pollution Reduction Scheme, what no one has ever told you is that when households decide they don't want to use these permits anymore, those permits will be bought by the big polluters. So the household who is trying to do their bit, the household who is trying to reduce Australia's emissions because they're disappointed with the target, all they're actually doing under the Rudd government's CPRS is freeing up extra permits for the big polluters. Now, unless we either fix the CPRS so that if households don't need this permit anymore, we get rid of the permit, unless we either fix the scheme so that if households do less, Australia's emissions are lower, we have to stop this system because otherwise we're locking ourselves into failure. Otherwise, we're stuck with 5 tonnes in this little coffee economy of CO2 regardless of what we do. We might feel better having put our solar panel on our roof, but under the Rudd government scheme, rather than making a difference, all we'll be doing is making life easier for the polluters. So what I would ask anyone to do is simply to call the federal government, call Penny Wong's office, call Kevin Rudd's office, and ask them the following simple question. Once the emissions trading scheme comes in, if I put a solar panel on my roof, will it reduce Australia's emissions by a single kilogram? Just ask them that simple question. Unfortunately, the answer you're likely to get is energy efficiency might save you some money, and it might. Energy efficiency might reduce your household's footprint, and it might. But they have avoided answering the question, will it reduce Australia's emissions? Yes or no? Just ask Penny Wong and Kevin Rudd, will the CPRS allow individuals to reduce Australia's emissions by making simple household actions? And until they'll answer that question, don't support the CPRS.